I call this meeting to order. Everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Rafalski, will you call roll call, please?
Trustee Freiberg.
Here.
Trustee Swanzarek. Here. Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Furry.
Here.
Trustee Frigo.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Mayor Eggener.
Here. There being a sufficient number of members present, this meeting is hereby declared to be in order. The first item of business before the board is a public hearing for the 2019-2020 annual budget. I open the public hearing. Clerk Rafalski, will you please swear in anyone who wants to speak?
Anyone who cares to speak about the budget, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Please be seated.
Will the finance director please give your report?
Thank you, Mayor. Before the village this evening is our 2019-2020 budget. In total, operating budgeted revenue is $51,956 million, and expenditures are $48 million. General fund anticipated to have 4-month operating reserve, which totals in $7.2 million. Nelson Road Bicycle Trail completed $290,000. Regional Water Waste Treatment Facility Design, $5.9 million. Water mains replacement on Route 30, $3.9 million. Route 30 is $1.4 million, and water is $1.6 million under I-80. Route 30 Metro Station construction, $600,000. It all costs about $11 million. Upgrade speakers for the Commons band shell is $125,000. Christmas lighting upgrade phased over 3 years is $100,000. Wood Street drainage project $200,000. Forest Wood Street's water main and decommissioned private system with CDBG funds $177,000. Engineering for the corner of Haven and Cedar $200,000 set aside for the project.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Are there any new full-time employees in this budget?
No, there will not be any full-time employees in this budget.
With the total operating budget of $48.2 million, how does this compare to the previous fiscal year?
The fiscal year of 2018-2019 total operating budget was $45.7 million.
Does the budget include all of the same special events that were offered in the previous fiscal year?
In addition to last year's events, there are additional special events included in this budget, such as Cruise Night, an art festival, and Sidewalk Chalk event.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, let's move on to the order of business. Village Administrator Keating, please give your report on a suggestion box for residents.
Thank you, Mayor. I was contacted by a resident requesting that we install a suggestion box for residents to submit suggestions for things the village should do or address. Suggestion boxes could be installed at the Village Hall and the police station, as well as be submitted via an Instagram account.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the village board?
Who would be responsible for following up the suggestions submitted by residents?
I recommend that the Assistant Village Administrator, Nathan Ellis, monitor the boxes and follow up on the suggestions. He could forward the suggestions to the appropriate department. Assistant Administrator Ellis currently does this with the concerns submitted through the village website.
I want to make sure that residents who submit a suggestion receive a follow-up communication to inform them of how their suggestion will be addressed, or given an explanation if the village cannot address it.
Assistant Administrator Ellis and the appropriate department will make sure that the resident receives a follow-up as what the village can do to address this suggestion. Similar on how concerns received through our website are followed up on.
While not opposed to the idea of a suggestion box, I want to make sure residents understand that not all suggestions can be implemented.
I make the motion to put suggestion boxes at the village hall and police station and create an Instagram account.
I second the motion.
A motion was made by Trustee Freiberg and seconded by Trustee Smith to put suggestion boxes at the village hall and police station and create an Instagram account. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Clerk Rafalski, please take a roll call vote.
Trustee Freiberg,
Yes.
Trustee Swenzerick,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Faree,
Yes.
Trustee Frigo,
Yes.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Mayor Eggener.
Yes. Motion carries. Administrator Keating, please give your report on a local government career day.
Thank you, Mayor. There have been some inquiries from students about having a career day at the Village Hall, where students can be introduced to the various careers in local government.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
I think a local government career day is a great idea. In order to have more students participate, would it be better to have the event at the high schools?
There may also be opportunities for village staff to speak to government classes at the high schools.
Local government requires people with a variety of knowledge and skills, and I think many students don't realize all the opportunities that exist or what type of training and education can prepare them for public service. Hosting a local government career day would be a great way to inform students about what our staff does.
I'll have our Human Resources Director contact the principals at Lincoln Way Central, Lincoln Way West, and Providence to discuss the best way to hold a local government career day. I'll keep the village board updated about this issue.
Next on the agenda is a request for a public garden. Administrator Keating, please give your report.
There have been many requests for a public garden where residents can grow their own fresh produce. From what I am familiar with, residents are given a section in the garden in which to grow whatever they want and are responsible for pulling weeds, watering, and picking the produce from their section.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the village board?
What would be required from the village to start a public garden?
The biggest contributions from the village would be land for the public garden and water for irrigation.
How big would the public garden need to be?
The size of the public garden would depend on how many residents participate. The garden could start out small and be expanded if there's a lot of interest.
Would there be a charge to residents who want a section in the public garden?
Staff can research how other communities regulate and charge for a public garden and report back at a future meeting.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, let's move on to the community development and his report on a fitness center.
The village has been approached by a developer wanting to build a fitness center. Staff has had preliminary discussions with Silver Cross Hospital and the Park District about being partners on the project.
Thank you for that report. Comments from the board?
Where would this fitness center be located?
An exact location has not yet been identified and would depend on what types of facilities are provided. For example, the developer has identified a need for flexible indoor court space that could be used for volleyball or soccer. The developer has also expressed an interest in building baseball or softball fields to allow large regional tournaments to be held in New Lenox. A large parcel of land will be required to accommodate these facilities and the required parking areas.
A fitness center seems to be something the Park District should be responsible for. Why is the village getting involved?
The Park District will most likely be a partner in the project. Hospitals are also partnering with private developers on fitness centers. Developing something of this scale will require support and assistance from multiple agencies. If the facility hosts tournaments, it could provide justification for a hotel and many more restaurants to be developed in the village, which could generate additional revenue that could help offset the development costs.
If the fitness center will be large and attract a lot of traffic for tournaments, it should be located along a major roadway and near services such as restaurants and gas stations and away from residential neighborhoods.
The fitness center would require C3 or C7 district zoning, which is located primarily along Route 6, Route 30, and Laraway Road. Larger parcels of land are available along Route 6 and Laraway Road.
I make a motion for the village to work with the developer on a feasibility study to see whether a fitness center makes sense in New Lenox and what type of facilities should be constructed.
I second the motion.
A motion has been properly made and seconded to direct staff to work with the developer on a feasibility study for a fitness center. Clerk Rafalski, roll call please.
Trustee Freiberg,
Yes.
Trustee Sonzarek,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Faree,
Yes.
Trustee Frigo,
Yes.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Mayor Egner.
Yes. The motion carries. Let's move on to the Metro Station report.
The village is in the final stages of approval from Metro for a new station off Route 30. If all goes well, the project should be out for bid and under construction later this year.
Comments or questions from the board?
What is the cost for the new metro station?
The budget includes $11 million for the new metro station and a parking lot. Some of this will be reimbursed by the metro.
The metro station is the first step to redeveloping the downtown. What are the plans for other properties near Route 30 and Cedar Road?
The comprehensive plan, which serves as a blueprint for future development of the village, was updated last year to recommend the redevelopment of several properties near the metro station. The downtown district calls for mixed-use buildings with commercial uses on the first floor and residential uses on the upper floors.
How long will it take to redevelop the downtown?
The timing of the redevelopment will depend on interest from private developers. The village has taken the first step in adopting the comprehensive plan to communicate to developers that mixed-use developments with higher densities than exist today are welcome.
What can the village do to help stimulate redevelopment?
One of the key recommendations of the downtown district is the development of a community park along Hickory Creek. The village can move forward with developing this park to create a destination for residents in the downtown area, as well as provide sidewalks to create pedestrian-friendly downtown.
Let's move on to the engineer's report on the installation of stoplights at Schoolhouse Road and Joliet Highway and Cedar Road and Haven Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor. The intersection of Schoolhouse Road and Joliet Highway currently has an always stop-controlled intersection. Schoolhouse Road has 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, and Joliet Highway has a left turn lane and a through lane in each direction. The traffic movement seems to function better since the village installed an asphalt surface treatment to prevent the cars from losing control at the intersection.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the trustees?
Are there a large number of accidents at this intersection?
Currently, there are not a large amount of accidents at this intersection. The accidents that have occurred are not really that serious.
How much would traffic signals at this intersection cost?
Temporary traffic signals comparable to Cedar and Laraway roads would cost about $100,000, and permanent signals would cost about $150,000.
Let's hear the report on stoplights at Cedar Road and Haven Avenue.
The intersection of Cedar Road and Haven Avenue is an offset intersection. Northbound Cedar Road has a right turn and a left turn. Southbound Cedar Road has 1 lane of traffic. Haven Avenue has 1 lane of traffic in each direction.
Can there be a traffic light installed?
The intersection is located very close to Route 30, about 600 feet south. The worry is that the traffic may get backed up, causing issues at Route 30 as well as the railroad crossing on Cedar Road just north to Route 30.
What other options are available to make the intersection safer?
The village looks closely at possibly straightening the intersection, allowing free flow of traffic on Cedar Road. However, this solution could possibly limit traffic movements on Haven Avenue to right turns only. Currently, we are moving forward with this design of a roundabout at this location.
Are roundabouts acceptable to motorists or safer for the public?
The intersection is strange due to the offset of Cedar Road at the intersection, and the roundabout would not be much different. Roundabouts are becoming more common in the Midwest. Wisconsin and Indiana have many roundabouts, and they are becoming more prevalent in Illinois. Roundabouts have shown safer than stop control or traffic signal controlled intersections. Roundabouts tend to allow a larger volume of traffic through the intersection, as well as reducing right angle accidents.
Thank you. Let's move on to the MFT program for 2019.
The engineering and public works departments have worked together to compile a list of streets that will be included in the project for this year. The project includes replacing a curb and gutter to help the street drain stormwater, replacing sidewalk to eliminate tripping hazards, and bringing street crossings into compliance with American Disability Acts, and by installing truncated domed detectable warnings by ensuring the curb and sidewalk are in compliance with elevation and slope requirements. This project also includes resurfacing the roads.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the village board?
How do we select roads for the project each year?
The engineering and public works departments create a 5-year plan for resurfacing the project. Each staff reevaluates the list and makes any necessary changes to the list. The streets are evaluated based on the condition of the road along with the curb and gutter. The village receives better prices when an entire subdivision or large areas of a subdivision can be completed together.
How were the streets selected this year?
The engineering department and public works department compile a list of streets to be completed over a 5-year period. This year, public works department has completed an assessment of streets at the top of the list. Then we work together to put a list of streets and subdivisions to be completed within this year's budget.
How many roads are included in this year's project?
The project this year includes 22 streets totaling about 5.3 miles of roads.
What is the typical yearly budget for the project?
The typical budget is around $1.3 million.
I make a motion to approve the streets for the 2019 MFT program.
I second the motion.
A motion has been properly made and seconded to approve the 2019 MFT program. Clerk Rafalski, roll call please.
Trustee Freiberg,
Yes.
Trustee Swanzarek,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Furry,
Yes.
Trustee Frigo,
Yes.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Mayor Eggener.
Yes. The motion carries. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Chief Building Inspector Bensick, please give your report on housing and other permit activity.
Thank you, Mayor. Year to date, we have issued 344 permits with a total construction value of almost $14 million and permit fees of $103,000. This includes 24 new houses.
Thank you. Are there any trustee comments or questions?
How did the housing starts compare to this time last year?
There are currently 24 new housing starts, and at the same time last year, we had permits for 54 new houses.
Is there a reason why the number of permits for single-family homes are lower this year?
No, but we are starting to see some activity in some of the older subdivisions like Heather Glen, Sky Harbor, and Prairie Crossings. When these start to get developed, the single-family numbers should increase.
Are there any commercial projects under construction for the schedule?
There are several projects under construction. At the Silvercross Hospital campus, Spectrum Eye Institute is building a new building and is currently under construction. Katie Academy is also building a new daycare building with an anticipated occupancy of August. Plans were recently submitted to build a 35,000 square foot 2-story medical office building. This project should be starting in late spring and will take a year to build. Silvercross has also plans to build an addition to the existing hospital. The addition will be adjacent to the emergency room and will be completed by the summer of 2020. The foundation for a new Tractor Supply on Larry Road was completed, and the masons will be starting the brickwork. The shell and core for the multi-tenant building next to the Metro lot was completed, and Starbucks has a permit to complete a tenant build-out. We also expect to see some plans soon for a new metro station. The previous station was moved to Lockport, and commuters are currently using a temporary building. There's also Pete's Fresh Market planned for the property adjacent to Cooper's Hawk, and this project should get started before the end of the year.
Is there a method to updating some of the existing commercial buildings?
The village does not have a plan for updating existing buildings, but all new construction is required to go through a site plan review process and meet the requirements for exterior materials, parking, and signage. As existing buildings come in for permits, they are encouraged to update their front elevations and meet new codes.
Let's move on to the Economic Development Department. The first item is restaurants and new businesses.
Thank you, Mayor. The village continues to pursue potential businesses and will be attending several International Council of Shopping Centers events this year to promote the village. With respect to the list of businesses, the board requested the following. After contacting Chick-fil-A, the response I received is that New Lenox is not a part of Chick-fil-A's deployment strategy for the Chicago designated market area. There are a couple of considerations with the Sugar Factory. The first is that the original Sugar Factory stores are corporately owned, but the company is now franchising Sugar Factories. Franchisees are owners who will invest their own money into a store rather than the company investing its money. Many national retailers and restaurants are franchised, and what this means to New Lenox is that has to be someone willing to invest in New Lenox with their own money. The village has no way of identifying these investors, and I've spoken to other communities that have the same issue of not being able to identify franchisees. If someone knows of an interested franchisee of the Sugar Factory, please contact me and I'll help them find a location in New Lenox. The second consideration is where other Sugar Factory stores are located, in major metropolitan areas of states. In Illinois, Sugar Factory's website says there are only two Illinois locations are Rosemont at Parkway Bank Park that is a 200,000 square foot entertainment and dining complex at the Chicago's River North. Because a high amount of visitor traffic assures a company that a store will succeed, the amount of people shopping and visiting these two locations are much higher than New Lenox. Go-karts and roller rinks are also franchised unless it's individually owned like the Tinley Park Roller Rink. A roller rink franchise is the Starlight Family Fun Center, and the initial investment is between $1.4 and $1.75 million. For an individually owned rink like Tinley Park, you'll have to approach the owners and see if they are interested in opening a second rink. Individual owners might be reluctant to open another facility because the cost to operate the rink average between $32,000 and $35,000 a month. Owners of a facility need to make sure they will have plenty of skaters before coming in to make money. For a go-kart franchise, an example of an initial investment for kart tracks is $500,000. One of the factors that a franchisee or company considers is the proximity of how close a similar business is to New Lenox before coming here. Because Accelerate Speedway in Mokina has go-karting, it might be difficult to get a similar entertainment center so close to Mokina.
Any comments or questions?
Since New Lenox has Cooper's Hawk, why can't we get any other restaurants?
Cooper's Hawk was looking for a location along Route 30 and did consider other towns to build a new restaurant. However, the mayor, village board, and village staff worked closely with Cooper's Hawk management to keep them interested in New Lenox. There are other restaurants that New Lenox is recruiting, but it's a bigger challenge when they are not looking in the area of New Lenox or they don't have restaurants already in Illinois.
I live closer to Laraway Road, but most of the new businesses seem to come to Route 30. Why is that?
National retailers and restaurants use data to identify new development. They look at population, median income, number of households, median age, and the amount of average daily traffic traveling on roads. The number of residents, households, and cars driving on Laraway Road by Jewel Food Store is much less than on Route 30. For example, 20,000 cars pass by Walmart every day and 10,000 cars pass by Jewel. There are 2,000 more households within 3 miles of Walmart than by the Jewel. On Laraway, the higher the number of cars, people, or households, the more appealing a location becomes for the development of a retailer or restaurant.
How does the village decide what businesses to pursue or not to pursue?
The first thing that the village considers is how many similar restaurants or retailers New Lenox already has. For example, while the village appreciates all of its local pizza sit-down and carry-out businesses, it doesn't make sense to pursue more pizza places. It can hurt other pizza restaurants in the village, and the village wants to help its existing businesses stay in business. In contrast, economic development tries to identify retailers that aren't in New Lenox because they don't have much competition. 2 examples are a sporting goods store and another is a family shoe store. The other consideration in identifying the restaurants or buildings is to pursue a residence request. A Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's has been requested for several years. I've earlier reported that New Lenox is not in the area that Chick-fil-A is considering, but Raising Cane's needs a site meeting a specific criteria. I'm working on sending sites to Raising Cane's now, but it can be a very lengthy process for a restaurant to decide to come to New Lenox, particularly if they didn't identify New Lenox as a potential site and have to be convinced to consider coming here.
Any more comments or questions from the board? Let's move on to the police department and your report on a request for a student cafe. Police Chief Weaver, please give your report.
There has been discussion among area high school students about having a location where students can go away from home or school and study. Something similar to a student cafe where the students can get together, work on school projects, and order coffee or soft drinks. If this idea does come to fruition, the police department would be more than happy to make frequent visits to the location and associate with the students. It would be another opportunity for students and citizens to engage with police officers and develop positive relationships.
Comments or questions from the board?
Has there been discussion about where the location would be or who would fund the student cafe?
We would suggest working with the village economic development coordinator to find a suitable location. The coffee shop already located at the New Lenox Public Library may be another option.
Let's move on. Police Chief Weaver, please give your report on a temporary radar on Nelson Road.
A recent hot topic has been the speed limit on Nelson Road from Haven Avenue to Illinois Highway. The speed limit is 30 miles per hour. Many vehicles have been observed traveling well above the speed limit on that stretch of road. Our officers can often be seen running radar and conducting traffic stops in that area in an effort to maintain traffic safety.
Why is the speed limit only 30 miles per hour in that location?
The speed limit was set for 30 miles per hour for the safety of people utilizing the bike path.
Thank you. Are there any more comments from the board? Hearing none, let's move on to the next item on the agenda.
As the weather finally begins to warm up, we received several complaints about go-karts and ATVs being driven on the streets in various neighborhoods. As a reminder, it is against the law to operate an unauthorized vehicle on the roadway. Any motorized vehicle must be properly licensed and insured. Many of the go-karts and ATVs are not licensed and are being driven by unlicensed drivers. From being a nuisance to residents, our primary concern for everyone's safety. It's difficult for people driving cars to see go-karts and ATVs on residential streets. An accident between a car and a go-kart or ATV on the roadway could be tragic.
What does an officer do when they locate someone operating one of these vehicles illegally on the roadway?
The officer may choose to issue a warning, especially for a first-time offense. However, a traffic ticket or local ordinance citation may be issued to the driver. If a child is operating the vehicle, oftentimes the officer will accompany the child home and speak to the parents. The officer also has the choice of impounding the vehicle.
Thank you for that report. Moving on the agenda to sidewalk repair on Cedar Road. Public Works Superintendent Kernwin, please give your report.
Thank you, Mayor. For the board's information, Public Works will be repairing or replacing sections of crumbled sidewalk along North and South Cedar Road next month.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Will the sidewalk be in compliance with ADA standards?
Yes, we will be replacing ramps at all intersections, and that includes proper sloping and installing ADA compliant plates.
There are some areas of South Cedar Road which do not have sidewalks. Who can residents contact to suggest a sidewalk installation in those areas?
The areas on South Cedar Road that do not have sidewalks fall under the jurisdiction of New Lenox Township. They can call the Township Supervisor, Mike Hickey, to inquire about sidewalks being installed in those locations.
Thank you for that report. Now let's move on to potholes on Joliet Highway.
The Public Works Department is working diligently to finish repairing all the potholes in the streets from the bad weather.
How many potholes have been repaired this winter season?
So far, we have had 1,058 potholes work orders since December 1st.
What time and material is involved in that many repairs?
The Public Works Department has spent 400 man-hours in labor and used 60,000 pounds of patching material.
Excellent job. Please thank your department. Are there any comments or questions from the village board? Hearing none, let's move on to the last item on the agenda, which is painting water towers.
Thank you, Mayor. Bids were open for the Nelson Road water tower painting. KTC Painting was the lowest bidder at $400,000. At this time, I am recommending awarding the project to KTC.
Comments from the board?
How long is the project expected to take?
Weather depending, the project should be completed in 90 days.
Does the water tower need to be drained to complete the painting?
Yes, painting will need to be completed on the interior of the tank as well as the exterior.
Is there a motion to approve the bid?
I make the motion to approve the bid.
I second the motion.
A motion has been properly made and seconded. Clerk Rafalski, roll call please.
Trustee Freiberg?
Yes.
Trustee Swenzerick?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Furry?
Yes.
Trustee Frigo?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Mayor Eggener?
Yes. Next on the agenda, Village Clerk Rafalski, please give your report on recent consolidated election.
Thank you, Mayor. The consolidated election was held on April 2nd. The village had early voting in the community room and had 362 early voters. The village hosts early voting 2 weeks prior to the election in our community room from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you for that report. Before I adjourn the meeting, I would like to remind residents that there are still Triple Play concert tickets available at the Village Hall. Are there any more comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
I second that motion.
Clerk Rafalski, please call roll call.
Trustee Freiberg?
Yes.
Trustee Swanzarek?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Frigo?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Mayor Eggener?
Yes. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
All right, great job, everybody. Very proud of you. I want to say thank you, of course, to our students here. Thank you to the schools, Liberty, Martino, and St. Jude. We appreciate you participating in this for so many years now. We've been doing this. It really gives the kids an opportunity, not only tonight to see how a board meeting works, but to work with our staff members and find out what they do every day and the services that they have to provide for our residents. Our clerk, Laura Zelinskis, does a great job organizing all of this, and all the staff and department heads pitch in, but I think Laura deserves a round of applause. I noticed, though, that she threw in the little plug for the Triple Play concert tickets. That was nice. And also the 30 mile an hour on Nelson Road. I hear about that from everybody, including my wife that has to take it every day to go to work, about how slow it is. But I can assure you that if we made that 40 miles an hour, you would save a total of 6 seconds, literally, between Illinois Highway and Haven. And then you would accuse us of it being a speed trap when it went back to 30 miles an hour on either side of it. So it's better just to leave it the way it is. It is safer for the bike path and for the future residents that are coming. But I digress. So Mayor, you did a great job. You have one more assignment here. You need to hand out these plaques to call everybody, so please stand up. And if you want, I will hand them to you if you want to bring them up and give them their plaque. Go.
Trustee Madeline Freiberg. Trustee Ava Furry. Trustee Devin Smith. Trustee Mira Berry. Trustee Rachel.
Well, come on now.
Trustee Delaney Frigo. Village Administrator Nicole Keating. Economic Development Coordinator Gianna Arizzi. Community Development Director and Assistant Administrator Nathan Ellis. Civil Engineer Ethan Hoff. Public Works Superintendent Bobby Kerwin. Village Clerk Olivia Rafalski. Chief Building Inspector Daniel Bensick. Finance Director Sean D. Police Chief Matthew Weaver.
And last, and unfortunately sometimes least, honey, is the mayor. Student Mayor Piper Egner, congratulations. It really is important that, and we appreciate again the school's involvement and the parents and grandparents, families' involvement. It is important that the kids get to know what happens in local government, because the truth is, everyone wants to talk about what happens in Washington, what happens in Springfield, but as you all know, it's the local government that's taking care of your streets and keeping them clean and keeping them safe, and the park district that's keeping amenities out here, and the library with all they do, and the fire protection district. It's your local representatives that really have the greatest impact on your lives and certainly on your tax bill. And so for younger people to know what happens, we hope that it encourages them to get involved, whether it's as a staff member, and they're really the lifeblood of our community. Our staff members here do such a great job, or running for elected office should they ever be foolish enough to do something like that. So, but we appreciate all their hard work, all their input. They had a lot of great suggestions working with staff. And I think what we'll do is we'll all come down here in front of the podium, if everyone's come down, and we'll get a picture taken, okay? Good job, man. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Make a little opening here for our mirror. All set? All right, great job, kids.